What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into TTP Sports. And the time, it's finally arrived. We're only a few days now removed from Super Bowl 59. Eagles versus Chiefs. A bit of a chance for revenge and a chance for the Eagles to prove so many people wrong, because once again, they're getting disrespected heavily leading up into the Super Bowl. And now the national media, they're trying to go, the other way. Now everybody's picking the Eagles to win the Super Bowl, while the other days they were all picking the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. That's definitely, 100% to just get a reaction out of the Philadelphia fan base, because that's what the national media does at the end of the day. But that doesn't matter in the slightest, because let the national media do what the national media does. It doesn't matter to the players on the field, even though they use that for bulletin board material. We all know that's the case. They're going to use that to their advantage. They're going to use that as motivation. But still, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, because when we look at the two teams at face value, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, I am very confident in this Philadelphia Eagles team to go into New Orleans, into the Superdome, and to take down Kansas City, prevent them from getting a three-peat, even though they're already considered a dynasty. They've already won 3 Super Bowls in this time with Brady and Andy Reid. Well, not Brady, with Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid under the helm there. They got 3 Super Bowls. Eventually, the team that wins it all, a bunch, eventually they lose some games. Eventually they lose games in the championship. And that's going to be now. That's going to be now. That's going to be this Sunday. That's going to be when the Eagles are hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. Jalen Hurts hopefully finally gets the respect that he deserves. Saquon Barkley runs all over the place against the Chiefs defense. And the Eagles defense does some gnarly things and does some incredible things and does a lot of things to force turnovers and make the Kansas City offense lives an absolute living hell. That's what's going to go down. And why would I believe anything else? Because that's what this Eagles team has been doing the entire year. And that's not discrediting the Kansas City Chiefs. First and foremost, I want to get that out of the way right there. It's not discrediting Kansas City. It's just how much confident I am in the Philadelphia Eagles themselves. So, before now we get into the rest of this pod, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back into TTP Sports. If you are new to the channel, have viewed for a little bit but haven't hit that subscribe button yet, I definitely recommend that you do hit that subscribe button. It does me such a great deal of service with the YouTube algorithm. You can also drop a like. You can also leave a comment in the comment section down below. I love to interact with you guys down there. You can also use the code TTP Sports, $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Now that after Sunday football season will be over, you can use it for anything else that you can think of, with hockey, with basketball, with baseball season upcoming, basically, pitchers and catchers report very soon. That's weird to say. And, anything else, it's a great deal. Don't pass it up. Code TTP Sports, $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. You can also leave a follow at TTP Sports on TikTok, Instagram for reels and shorts and all that good content. So, down to today's business. Looking at Super Bowl 59, looking at these two teams, and basically, I feel like the nerves will probably kick in on Super Bowl Sunday, just because that's just the generic nerves that a lot of people get going into a huge game. The butterflies, the stress, the anxiety. It's probably going to happen as the game's going along too, because, it's a very meaningful game. It's a game to go win the Super Bowl and to win a championship. Guaranteed to give you a parade wherever city you celebrate it in. A chance to have a parade down Broad Street. It's a huge thing in the city of Philadelphia. We don't get to see it that often. We don't get to have parades that often. It's a very huge deal. And for a lot of the Eagles players in that locker room, a lot of chances for them to win their first Super Bowl. A lot, some of them have their chance to win their second Super Bowl, because some of them are still around from the days when they beat the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 52. But this Eagles team is battle-tested. When they went to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, Super Bowl 57, against this very Kansas City Chiefs team, a lot of the guys were inexperienced. Yeah, there were still some people around from Super Bowl 52, but I would say the good majority of the players and just the entire structure of that roster It's a lot of inexperience there. And yeah, they still went up toe-to-toe with Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, and it came down to a field goal, basically. You were neck and neck with that team. And I wouldn't see it any other way that going into this game, battle-tested, you have that experience in the Super Bowl, you have that experience against this very Kansas City Chiefs team. I don't see any other way that you don't come out on top. And if you do happen to lose, that's just, credit to the Kansas City Chiefs. They're just a dynamo team. They just win. They find ways to win, whether you want to discredit the way they've been winning this year and you want to call it fluky ways or anything like that, where they rely on the referees, they rely on blocked punts, blocked field goals and everything like that, to where you're just like, it doesn't pass the smell test. It just, something seems off right there. They still find ways to win. And they get better as the playoffs go along. That's what Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid do. So really just can't go anything about it right there. Can't really handle anything about that. All you got to do is handle your own business. And granted, yes, I say this very same Chiefs team, even though I do think defensively they're always going to be very strong. Chris Jones spags that defense. They're going to be an absolute living hell because that's just the way they run things there. Offensively, even though you have Pat Mahomes under center, Pat Mahomes can do so many incredible things on the field. Yes, does he get a little bit of help from the refs? Obviously, because that's what great players do. They're going to get the benefit of the refereeing. You can't do anything about that. That's not a knock on Pat Mahomes. That's just how some referees favor it. Great players get benefit of the calls. And offensively, just from their weapons, I think the Eagles can find a way to handle them. I just don't think this Chiefs offense in particular is as strong as years past. I don't think their wideouts are going to be able to, do anything against Cooper DeJean, against Quinyon Mitchell, against Slay, against Reed Blankenship, against C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I just don't see anything going around there. Same thing with Zach Bond. Burks has been very huge in replacement of Nakobe Dean, so that has been absolutely fantastic. And for the Chiefs' run game, I just don't see how it's going to get swallowed up by this Eagles defensive front. It just is. Going back to the linebackers, Bond has been a huge play in that scenario. Jordan Davis will maul things up. Brandon Graham, he's coming back. Regardless of, how much he's going to play in Super Bowl 59, that's, he's probably going to be very limited. I just don't see anything else. Brandon Graham playing the entire game. That would be absolutely insane if he did. I don't expect that to happen in the slightest. And he also did announce that it is going to be his final game in the NFL. So if the Eagles find a way to win this Lombardi Trophy, that is a hell of a way to go out for Brandon Graham to finish your career winning another Super Bowl. That would just be absolutely fantastic. So that's another great thing for this defense, Dad, because Brandon Graham was playing fantastic before he went down with the injury. Like I said, he's probably not playing the entire game. He's going to be very limited on the snaps and whatever is going to go on there. So just to wait and see what Brandon Graham does there. Nolan Smith has been an absolute beast and basically the piece de resistance of this entire defensive front. Jalen Carter's an absolute monster. He is a nightmare. He is going to make that Chiefs offensive line a living hell. And if Jalen Carter gets double teamed, he's going to beat those double teams. And if Jalen Carter does get double teams, it's going to open up so many things for a lot of the other players on the Eagles defensive front. That'll open a lot more up for Nolan Smith. That'll open some things up for Josh Sweat. That'll open up a lot of things for a lot of people. You might see Milton Williams get in there. You might see a Jomo get in there. Maybe Jalix Hunt gets a little bit of a pressure in there. There's a lot of ways that this Eagles team defensively can just make Kansas City's offensive life a living nightmare. And there's so many people out there that are predicting, the Chiefs, they're going to drop a lot of points on this Eagles defense. I've seen some predictions about like 30-plus points, 35-plus, 40-plus. This Chiefs offense ain't putting 30-plus on this Eagles defense. Not against this Eagles defense that has been so dynamic the entire year. I just don't see that happening. And the way that this Eagles team forces turnovers, it's not just by interceptions. It's by, if Pat Mahomes throws it, and say it goes into someone like Worthy or Brown, or it goes into Travis Kelce's hands, they're going to have so many people on top of them, not just by the initial contact of the tackle or whatever, it's like Cooper DeJean or Quinyon Mitchell. You're going to have somebody else getting up in there and ganging on the receiver and trying to punch that football loose. And that's how the Eagles force so many turnovers. And then, yeah, they can also force interceptions because that's how fantastic this defense has been in forcing turnovers. I wouldn't be shocked if Pat Mahomes throws an interception. He's not prone to not throwing interceptions. He's done it before in the past. And he's definitely thrown interceptions in Super Bowls before. So I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest. So this Eagles defense is going to be doing a lot of things to make Kansas City's life a living nightmare. And a lot of people like to point out to the fact about Vic Fangio's record against Pat Mahomes and the times that he has gone up against him, that he's 0-8. He's never beaten Pat Mahomes before. One, if people are just looking at the record at face value, you got to look at the context of the entire thing first. One, I don't look at the historical record there with being 0-8 against Pat Mahomes. So Vic Fangio, he was the head coach of the Denver Broncos from 2019 to 2021. Two of those 3 years, he had a defense that allowed under 20 points a game in 2019 and 2021. 2020, COVID year, everything was weird. They weren't a good defense, but 2 of the 3 years, they were a very good defense, allowed under 20 points per game. Think of the Broncos offense in those 3 years with Vic Fangio as the head coach. Drew Lock was the quarterback. Now, do you think, going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, that Drew Lock is going to go out there and beat Pat Mahomes? No, absolutely not. That is never going to happen, and that's why, as a Denver Broncos head coach, Vic Fangio was 0-6 against them. Defense did the job. You can go back and look at some of the scores. Defense was able to keep them in check. Offense didn't score a lick of anything. Nothing. And that's because Drew Lock was their quarterback. Now you transfer over to 2023, when he was the defensive coordinator of Miami. Played him twice. First matchup, defense held Kansas City in check. Offense, I believe, only scored 14 points. I believe it was a one-score game. It was like 21-14, I believe. In the second game, which was, I believe, the divisional round, or it could have been, I think it was the divisional round in Kansas City in below zero temperatures. And a historical thing that I do buy is Miami not being able to win in sub-zero temperatures because they just haven't been able to. Defense still did their job that day. The offense only put up 7 points. So if you look at the context of Vic Fangio's record against Pat Mahomes, his defense has been able to keep their offense in check for the most part. Their offense doesn't score. Any offense that Vic Fangio had over that course of time hasn't been able to score against the Chiefs. Now Vic Fangio, I believe this is one of the best defenses that he's ever had under his helm in terms of just talent and the way that this team just plays and responds to what he does. It's probably one of the best defenses he's ever had. And this is probably one of the best offensive talents that he's ever had. You have Jalen Hurts under center. You have a all-time offensive line because this offensive line is so dynamic. You have an all-time rushing season from Saquon Barkley, and he's going to continue to do that in the Super Bowl. You have 2 very good wideouts in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and you have a very good tight end in Dallas Goedert. And this offense can do many magical things on the board. People want to discredit Kellen Moore and all that stuff. I don't think Kellen Moore is going to be as clocked out as Jonathan Gannon was in Super Bowl 57 because he was basically just already out the door accepting that Arizona Cardinals job. Now, it's very coincidental and very ironic that once again the Eagles are in a Super Bowl and the hosting city is trying to poach one of the coordinators from the Eagles, and that most likely could be Kellen Moore. But Kellen Moore, I don't think he's going to be that guy that's already out the door and not focusing on this Super Bowl. I am not worried about that in the slightest. You could have said the same thing about Shane Steichen. He still put a fantastic offensive game plan out there that put up 35 points on Kansas City in Super Bowl 57. The defense, Jonathan Gannon, was absolutely clocked out. And if you want to put things to the turf and all that crap, go ahead. Jonathan Gannon, I put more blame on that than anything else. Vic Fangio is not going to allow that to happen. And eventually, losing streaks end. 0-8, all that stuff, you're eventually due for a win. And this will be the time that Vic Fangio manages to beat Pat Mahomes. Nick Sirianni is not going to be denied. I firmly believe that. He's going to put this team in the best possible preparations for this game on Sunday. This offense is going to do some spectacular things. I think they can find ways to get around Spags in this defense. And Spags, he's going to come up with so many creative things to try to stop the Eagles. He's going to do that. That's why he's one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. Let's also remember the Eagles put up 35 points on Spags in Super Bowl 57. This Eagles offense can find a way to beat Spags. Now, will Chris Jones be a factor on this offensive front? We'll have to see what the offensive line has to say about that. And that's even going to some of the injury reports that we've seen the past couple of days. Now, granted, I'm recording this earlier on Friday afternoon, so we haven't seen the Friday practice report and the injury report and all that stuff. But most likely, they don't matter at the end of the day, because I don't expect anybody on the Eagles side to miss Super Bowl 59. It's been reported the past couple of days that some of the Eagles in the locker room have been dealing with sicknesses, and now that's really starting to clear up and all that stuff. You saw it with Jalen Carter. You saw it with a lot of some of the other players in the Eagles locker room dealing with flu-like symptoms. I think Quinyon Mitchell had laryngitis or something like that, but I believe Derek Gunn posted this last night that a lot of the Eagles in the locker room are starting to feel 100 times better, so that's not going to be an issue whatsoever. Regardless, if it was sickness or not, nobody is missing the Super Bowl. That is guaranteed at the end of the day. But going back to what I think was some of the positives that you saw from the injury report is that you saw both Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens as full participants in practice. We all know what Landon Dickerson was going through in the NFC Championship game. He was going through a lot of pain, and he couldn't finish that game in the second half. You had to bring Cam Jurgens back in with the back spasms. So it's good to see both of those guys are most likely going to start that game, and they're both full practice. So getting that week off, I would assume, helped those guys a lot. And definitely those guys are most likely still banged up. There's going to be a lot of people that are banged up going into this game. That is granted. There's a lot of people banged up on the Eagles side. There's a lot of people banged up on the Kansas City side. I'm not shocked at that in the slightest. But going for the ultimate prize here. You're going for a Super Bowl championship. You're going for a chance to win a Lombardi. Everybody's going to try to play their ass off to win this game. So, sickness or no sickness, get the IVs in your system, get the fluids in your system, make sure you're hydrated and all that stuff, and you will be good to go. That's all that matters there at the end of the day. Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts. I have been critical of Jalen Hurts this season. That would be an understatement. But I still very much believe in Jalen Hurts. And I think he's been given, even though as much as I've been critical about Jalen Hurts, I still think he gets disrespected a little too much. Saw his performance in the NFC Championship game against Washington. When the time comes to pass and Jalen Hurts has to step up, Jalen Hurts will step up. You need him to do something, he'll do it. Jalen Hurts, the only thing that he cares about is winning. The only thing that he cares about is putting his team in the best possible position to win that game. And Jalen Hurts is going to put this team in the best possible position to beat Kansas City. Jalen Hurts played one of the best games of his life in Super Bowl 57. Was absolutely fantastic in the air and on the ground, but the one thing that he gets diminished for in that game was the fumble return for Kansas City for that touchdown. But besides that, Jalen Hurts went toe-to-toe with Pat Mahomes, and he probably played 1 billion times better than Pat Mahomes in Super Bowl 57. Jalen Hurts, when the moment comes tough, when the moment needs someone to come up large, Jalen Hurts is going to come up large in Super Bowl 59. Whether that's with his legs, whether that's in the air, finding A.J. Brown, finding Devontae Smith downfield, Dallas Goedert, whatnot, or it could be what Jalen Hurts has been doing with Saquon Barkley so many times this year, checking at the line of scrimmage, checking during the play, before the play, make sure there's something there, maybe change the play up a little bit to where it opens up something for Saquon to go downfield and rush for a touchdown. Jalen Hurts will be an impact in this game. I wouldn't expect him not to. And then Saquon Barkley, man. What else can you say about Saquon? Offensive Player of the Year. One of the best rushing seasons we've ever seen in a while. Doesn't break the single season rushing record. He could have. Chose not to, which at the end of the day was probably the right decision. And the most important thing at the end of the day, you take a Super Bowl 1 billion times away from breaking a record. And Saquon Barkley is not going to let this opportunity slip. He came to Philadelphia for one sole purpose, and that was to get into the playoffs for a chance to compete for a Super Bowl. He comes to Philadelphia year one, he's already in the Super Bowl. And he's not, going to be satisfied with just getting there. He wants to win that damn thing. And hell, I wouldn't be shocked if he wins Super Bowl MVP, because that's how dynamic Saquon Barkley has been this entire year. And I did see something about, on Twitter, obviously from the Chiefs' perspective, that the Saquon Barkley, he's been rushing against a lot of bad defenses. That's why his numbers are so fantastic and all that stuff. The Chiefs have been doing incredibly well at limiting the run, limiting the rushing attempts from most teams that they play against, and Saquon Barkley will not be that much of an impact. Saquon Barkley is a different beast. Saquon Barkley is not your typical prototypical running back in the National Football League. This man is not going to be denied. He just isn't. With this offensive front, leading the way, making those blocks, opening those holes for Saquon Barkley to get through, he's going to find those openings. And good luck trying to tackle him, because that dude, he'll just stiff arm you. And he's taking it 60 yards to the house in the process of that stiff arm. Because that's how great he has been. Whew. Whew. Man, oh man. Greatness. This team is going to provide us greatness on Sunday. That's the only thing else I can think of. I wouldn't expect anything less, because that's what this team has been providing us all year long. All year long. They have a taste. They have a motivation. They have whatever you want to say. This team is not just going to New Orleans. Kansas City, I'm trying to think of a best way to compare this entire thing to. Because Kansas City, they've been there so many times. Yeah, they understand the process of the entire thing and everything. But you would say that, yes, going through a three-peat is definitely a rare feat, because no one has done that in NFL history. So yeah, there definitely is some hunger towards getting that three-peat. But there's also another reason why three-peating in the NFL just doesn't happen, because it is so hard to do. You're eventually going to get some wear and tear. You're eventually going to get some fatigue for being there so many times. It eventually happens to the best of everybody. Sometimes you just come up short. Sometimes you just come up small after winning so many times. Sometimes the other team just outplays you. That's what happens. And that's what I expect happening here. Because this Eagles team is just not going to be denied. They have a goal. They have a purpose. They want to go out there and prove everybody wrong, because they continue to get doubted every single week. Every single game, they get doubted. Jalen Hurts gets doubted. This defense gets doubted. Everything about this Eagles team gets doubted and disrespected, and that's what motivates this team so much to prove everybody wrong. And if the Eagles go out there, not if, when the Eagles go out there in New Orleans and win a Super Bowl, that's all that matters at the end of the day. Nobody can take that away from you. Even though there'll probably be some people on the national side perspective that'll find some excuses on why the Eagles probably shouldn't have won that game and why Kansas City should have won, because that's just what the national media does. It's all coping. That's basically what it is. You're coping and seething. That's what that entire situation will be when the Eagles hoist the Lombardi, because people hate Philadelphia. People do not want to see Philadelphia succeed. For some reason, I have no idea why. But this is Philadelphia's time. This is our time to shine. We've gotten a taste a couple of years ago in Super Bowl 57. It's been a little bit while since we won Super Bowl 52. Philadelphia is dying for something. It's a little bit overdue to get that championship back. Just think about the championships that Philadelphia has just won in the recent times. 2. In my lifetime, they won 2. Super Bowl 52 and the World Series in 2008. And now you're going back, what is that? It's 2025 right now. That's 13 years. 13 years? No, that is not 13 years. 17 years. I did the math completely wrong there. Don't judge me. 17 years. In 17 years, you've won 2 championships. And in that time span, you went to 2 World Series, you won 1, no, actually, in that time span, you went to 3 World Series, lost 2, won 1. The other World Series was 2022, obviously. 2009, you lost that World Series as well. You went to 2 Super Bowls before this year. Super Bowl 52 and Super Bowl 57, you went 1-1. Now it's a chance for another one there. Obviously, the other sports did not reach their, Stanley Cup final, obviously, but I'm rambling at this point. I'm just basically trying to summarize this entire scenario as to why it's Philadelphia's time to win a championship. That's all that matters. That's all that matters at the end of the day, because it's time. It's finally time for Philadelphia to win another goddamn championship. It's time for Philadelphia to have another goddamn party down Broad Street. And oh, will that party be spectacular. I can't wait. I just need it to be Sunday. This week has been taking these 2 weeks actually has been taking forever and forever and forever and forever. It feels like it's forever. Oh man. But they won't be denied. They just won't be. So I think that's all I have to say for today. But we do have a voicemail here on the Anytime Hotline. We might as well get to that. Let's get to Sean. Let's see what he has to say about Super Bowl 59 and what the result might be. Let's see.
Super Bowl Sunday is almost here, and to that I say thank God. So before I get into the predictions and analysis of the game, quick shout out and congratulations to Eric Allen, an honor well deserved. He was a guy that every year seemed to fall just short of getting his gold jacket, finally got the recognition that he deserves, having watched him, remembering when he was drafted. Truly a deserved honor. Congratulations to him and his family. Now, as for the game, I know we have the dreaded NOLA virus going on throughout our defense. That's a little scary in and of itself. But I look at this game and I say, again, I've said number one, I think the Eagles are the more talented team. Number two, I like the mindset of this team. Even when Lurie held the trophy up after the NFC Championship game, he ended it with one more game, one more to go. We got to get one more. And I think the players that were on this team a couple years ago that missed that golden opportunity to make history remember that, and I think it's sticking in their craw. I think the Eagles will be okay as long as they don't self-destruct. Don't turn the ball over. Don't commit stupid penalties, even with the rigging of the refs. If it's a fair game, and if, it plays out where neither side is sloppy, I've got the Eagles winning 27-17. My MVP on his birthday is Saquon Barkley. I know Josh Allen got the official award. Saquon Barkley, to me, is the MVP of the league. I don't care what the voters said. Everything this year has run through this guy. Why not one more game? 27-17, Saquon holding up the MVP trophy, going to Disney World.
I love it. I absolutely love it. That was also one thing I forgot to mention. Saquon's Barkley's on the Super Bowl day. Same thing with Cooper DeJean as well. Destiny? Destiny? Is it just destiny? Is it just what the football gods are portraying to us? Maybe. Now, I don't go that far in terms of that. Sometimes I do jokingly wise, but realistically, no. But you never know. There's always a moment for stuff to happen, and they're just not going to be denied. They're just not going to be denied. Same thing what Sean said. Their mentality going into this week, very good. They're coming in here with a purpose. You see that in the media day. You see that in the way they answered their questions. They know what they're here for. They want to get the job done. They don't want to fall like last time. That's what they're going to do. They're going to win. They're going to hoist the Lombardi. We're getting a parade down Broad Street. And that's the bottom line. You know why? Because I said so. Had to throw in a little Stone Cold reference there. Been watching a lot more WWE lately, so especially since I've been editing for Russ and his wrestling pod, got to get caught up with the product there. And also another reference A lot of people like to throw out the Cody Rhodes reference, finishing the story against Roman Reigns. So many similarities there. So many. But yeah, that'll do it for today, everybody. I appreciate you all tuning out as always. So don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below if you want to leave your predictions and all that stuff down there. I'd love to see that. Also, don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Does me a great deal of service. And also use the code TTPSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. And also follow at TTPSPORTS on Instagram and TikTok for all that good stuff. So appreciate you guys for turning in tonight. Go Birds. We'll be rejoining again after the Eagles hoist the Lombardi Sunday night. Until then, boys, I'll see you next time.